The sea has many names. For some, it's freedom. For others, danger. For Violet Jessop, it was destiny. A destiny that would test her 3 times. A destiny she was never meant to survive. But somehow, she did. This is the story of the woman the ocean tried to claim, again and again, and failed. Violet Constance Jessop was born in 1887 to Irish immigrants in Argentina. She was the oldest of 9 children, and from the very beginning, life placed her on the edge. At the age of 9, she fell gravely ill with tuberculosis. Doctors told her mother she would not survive. They prepared for the worst. But Violet, she didn't follow the script. Her lungs healed, her body endured, and she walked away from death for the first time. She would later say that surviving tuberculosis felt like being given back to the world. If only she knew the world was not done testing her. After her father died, Violet and her family moved to England. There, she watched her mother work tirelessly as a stewardess for ocean liners, a demanding job, but a stable one. When her mother became too ill to work, Violet took her place at just 21 years old. Her journey at sea had begun, and the sea was waiting. Her first assignment was aboard the RMS Olympic, the pride of the White Star Line, a massive ship, elegant, modern, unsinkable, they said. On September 20, 1911, the Olympic sailed calmly through the waters near the Isle of Wight. The sun was bright, the sea was gentle, passengers strolled the decks. Everything felt peaceful, until a sudden vibration beneath her feet, a deep, metallic shudder, the kind that makes your heart stop before your mind understands why. The Olympic had collided with a British warship, the HMS Hawke, its sharp bow cutting into the liner's side. The impact sounded like the tearing of the earth itself. Passengers screamed. The ship listed, water rushed in, but Violet stayed calm. She guided passengers, comforted the terrified, and silently prepared for the worst. But the Olympic, though heavily damaged, refused to sink. It limped back to port, and Violet walked off the gangway, shaken but alive. She would later write in her journal, "I felt the sea had looked at me. It was only the beginning." In April of 1912, Violet was transferred to a new ship, a ship larger than the Olympic, more luxurious, more modern, more unsinkable. Its name was Titanic. On the night of April 14th, everything felt normal. Passengers danced. Music drifted through the corridors. The sea was calm, too calm. Then, just before midnight, a jolt, soft, almost gentle, like bumping into a curb. Some passengers laughed, some barely noticed. But Violet felt something different, a cold instinct, a quiet dread. As she walked through the halls, she sensed the shift. The ship leaned ever so slightly, her stomach dropped. Then the orders spread, "Everyone on deck, bring your life jackets." What followed became history. The lights flickered, the deck tilted, voices trembled, the air turned sharp and freezing. Violet helped women and children into the lifeboats. She wrapped blankets around them, whispered reassurance, and tried not to let them see her fear. Then, a crew member lifted a small baby and placed it in her arms. "Look after this one," he said. And she climbed into lifeboat 16. As they rowed away, Violet watched the Titanic lift its stern high into the air, a black silhouette against the stars, and then slide beneath the surface, groaning like a dying creature. The screams came next, thousands of them, cutting through the night, cutting into memory. Hours later, she and the baby were rescued. When they reached the Carpathia, a woman grabbed the child from Violet's arms without a single word. No thank you, no explanation, just gone, as sudden as the ship itself. Violet didn't cry, she didn't speak, she simply breathed, because breathing was all she could do. She had survived for the second time. 4 years later, during World War I, Violet volunteered as a nurse aboard His Majesty's hospital ship, Britannic, Titanic's sister ship. If the Olympic was the beginning, and the Titanic was the warning, the Britannic would be the ultimate trial. On the morning of November 21, 1916, the ship sliced through the Aegean Sea, sunlight shimmering on the water. Nurses prepared breakfast. Doctors reviewed charts. Everything seemed routine. Then, a thunderous blast. The entire ship lifted beneath her feet. A mine. The explosion tore open the hull. Water flooded in at a terrifying speed. The Britannic began to sink even faster than the Titanic. Violet ran to the deck. Lifeboats were being lowered. Too quickly, as the ship's massive propellers rose from the water, they were still spinning, giant metal blades slicing the sea. and the current was dragging the lifeboats straight toward them. Violet saw it happening. She heard the screams. She watched as wood splintered and disappeared into the churning water. She had only seconds to decide: stay aboard a sinking ship, or jump. She chose to jump. She leaped from the deck, and the water swallowed her whole. The cold hit her like a wall. A powerful current sucked her down toward the propellers. She kicked, fought, thrashed, but her head struck the hull with a crack so loud she felt it vibrate through her skull. Everything went black. When she surfaced, she tasted blood, but she was alive. A lifeboat pulled her aboard. The Britannic vanished beneath the waves just minutes later. Violet had survived her third disaster: 3 ships, 3 deaths, 3 escapes no one could explain. She would later joke about the blow to her head. I learned later that I had fractured my skull, but it didn't matter. I was alive. After surviving tuberculosis, a collision, 2 sinkings, and a skull fracture, most people would have left the ocean forever. But Violet didn't. She kept working at sea for another 40 years. She served on world voyages. She wrote her memoirs. She settled into a quiet life, tending a garden she loved. And in 1934, decades after the disasters, Violet received a mysterious phone call. A woman's voice, soft, calm. "Are you the Violet Jessop who took care of a baby on the night the Titanic sank?" Violet said yes. There was a pause, and then the woman simply said, "I was that baby," and hung up. No explanation, no name, just a voice returning from the past. The sea had its ghosts, but Violet had outlived them all. Violet Jessop died in 1971, peacefully, at the age of 83. She never sought fame. She never asked for recognition. She never called herself a survivor. She simply endured. The world remembers the ships, the Olympic, the Titanic, the Britannic, but it often forgets that inside those tragedies were people just like her, calm, brave, and impossibly resilient. Most people meet the sea once. Violet met it 3 times. 3 chances for fate to close the chapter. 3 doors that should have ended her story. And yet, she walked through every one of them. So the question is not how Violet Jessop survived. The real question is, what does it take for a person to walk into danger again, after the ocean has tried 3 times to take you away? Because some lives are not shaped by destiny. They are shaped by defiance. And Violet Jessop was defiance. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories.